before that. But that if you see someone that's grown up in the opposite of, I had a friend who, you know, this is a grown man, wife and children, and he was going out to lunch with his friend, and they're on the way to, like halfway to where they're going to eat, and his mother calls, and his mother said, you know, mentioned his name, Mubin, said, did you take a shower this morning? He said, no, Mom, I didn't take a shower this morning. And she said that, I want you to take a shower. I said, Mom, I'm on the way to lunch. My friend's with me. She said, no, you have to take a shower. Right? So this was a very blessed person. He actually turned around with his friend in the car, went back home, took a shower, put the same clothes back on, and then went out to lunch. And to me, like, that is so beautiful. Right? Someone might say that's overprotective, that's, you know, meddling in my affairs, they're trying to micromanage my life, and all these other type of things that come. But, you know, there might be limits to these type of things, but the essence of that to me is something beautiful. That's love for our parents, you know, and that's something that most traditional families still have. Traditional families that come from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, you know, places in the Arab world, they still preserve that. Much more than many of the families in the West. And you know, I have a teacher as well in Yemen who was one of the primary teachers, Shaikh Yahya Rhodus, in Yemen, in Dar al-Satwa where I studied. And that till recently, I think it's still imposed upon him, and he's probably in his late 30s, 37, 38, and he lives in the house of his father, as most traditional people did. He and his brothers, that they live in a large house with their father, and that he obviously is married and has several kids himself. That his dad used to had a curfew on him, 9 o'clock, and the man's 35 years old or older. And even if it was attending the gathering of Habib Omar, he had to be home by 9. He couldn't stay out later than 9. And he used to tell us that. Like normally you'd be like, kind of like hide it or something like that, or you know, I know some of you, that's what I used to do. You say, oh Mom, I'm spending the night at so-and-so's house, right? And then, you know, then you go out and do something else. Don't do that though, right? But the point is that that's something beautiful, and that we have to preserve that beauty, and the beauty of modesty, and that the one thing that I'll mention is, you know, just to, you know, those of you that are wearing, you know, hijab in public, the hijab is a beautiful thing, and don't let the hijab be demonized. Hijab is a beautiful thing. The hijab is a sign of religiosity. It is a sign of modesty. And it is the way that religious people dressed all throughout the history of mankind. And if you look at me and how I choose to dress, that I usually like to wear longer shirts, a longer coat, and I always go outside with my head covered. I know it's not an obligation for me to do that, and I don't have a problem with people who don't do that, but I choose to do that. And that I like associating myself with an Islamic identity, and I have no problems with that. And if you look at what's covered with me compared to you, it's almost the exact same. Right? My hands are showing, you know, maybe just my ears and my neck is pretty much the only other thing that's showing from me that's not showing from you. And what it means is that people that try to tell you that you're wearing hijab because of the bestial nature of men, they've misunderstood the whole, even if there was no men, that this is about modesty, and that just as much for females as males. And our Prophet ﷺ was described as being more modest than a young girl who has never really mixed with society. That's the way our Prophet was. The modesty of that young girl who's never really experienced life, that's how modest our Prophet was. And he was a man. And he was a great man. And he was very manly. But also he had that quality. And that the Prophet said as well, لِكُلِّ دِينٍ خُلُقٍ. Every religion has a quintessential trait, or virtue. And he says that خُلُقُ الْإِسْلَامِ الْحَيَاةِ. The quintessential trait of Islam is modesty, is shyness. That is the quintessential trait. And that by learning that outwardly, you can have that inwardly. And the highest form of modesty is when you spirituality, where you realize that God sees you at all times. And when you realize that God sees you at all times, and you're in a state of muraqabah and vigilance, that you will do what is appropriate in every single time. And so that we should be you should be proud that we are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we've been given these beautiful teachings, and they should be glorified, and they should be made beautiful, and at the same time that we shouldn't be judgmental, and we should be accepting, and we should stand by the side of our sisters that haven't yet got the strength to do that, and we should accept them, and we should welcome them into this center, we should welcome them into the masajid, and we should welcome them into our communities, and we need to get over that hump as well, where that we expect a woman to be like Sayyidah Aisha or Sayyidah Khadija before that we're going to even let them. I mean, this has got to change, period. And mashallah, alhamdulillah, that we're very blessed, and we live in a time that's full of opportunity, and that I really hope that all of you will find something that you enjoy doing, and to do it for the sake of Allah in service of the Prophet's deen, and to bring life to these teachings in your own heart, in the heart of your families and communities and others. And that we hope that inshallah ta'ala, that there'll be more and more people that will collectively work together for the betterment of humanity, maintaining these universal ideas and principles such that we can really move beyond our local communities and to serve humanity. That the soul of the believer is expansive. The soul of the believer is expansive, and as Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya mentions in Kitab al-Ruh about the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the soul of the Prophet ﷺ that was as expansive as the universe, encompassed the universe, and he was sent as a mercy to all the worlds. He had a big soul, ﷺ. And to the extent that we love him and follow him, likewise that we will also have a big soul. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you, increase all of you, inspire all of you, bless you all with the greatest of this world and the next, to protect you and increase you, and to open the doors of mercy for all of you. May that mercy descend upon your hearts and translate into a deep, balanced, holistic practice and understanding of our Prophet's teachings. So sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah.